That's coming. I'll close this.
We are live.
We are live. Well, we'll call the meeting to order then. And I think the first one is to approve the addendum.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Higgs, resolved that the addendum to the October 19th, 2022 meeting of the Council of the County of Frontenac be approved.
Any questions on that one? All in favor? Carried. We'll move on to, do we have any pecuniary interest to declare today and the nature thereof? Having seen none, we'll record that in the minutes and move on to adoption of the minutes of our last meeting.
Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Warden Higgins, resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held September 21st, 2022 be adopted.
Any questions there or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? It is carried. Well, opposed, and someone hand that didn't go up. Okay, well, nobody. We'll carry on to the delegation and presentation. I believe we have Mr. Grant Penstone with us. I think I saw somebody on the screen that.
No, right here.
Correct.
He's sitting there. Okay. Well, welcome, Grant. I don't think we've met, but we're pleased you could join us today to bring us up to date with the trail and the snowmobile concerns.
Is there a chair?
Thank you.
I don't know. You might want to stand up. Oh, there you found one.
There we go. Thank you very much for having me. I guess we're here to talk about the KNP trail.
I think so, and snowmobiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles too. So we've been at a bit of an impasse past, well, I guess last year for sure, and then it looks like it may be this year as well, with going through the KNP for our, one of our club trails. It's a very important trail to not only our snowmobile club, but Snowmobile Association in Ontario. It's a very, very well used corridor between Sharper Lake and Points North. Extremely busy trail, and we are missing it greatly right now, as are most snowmobilers, just because of the fact that it's a part of our top Trans-Ontario provincial trail system, which is a trunk trail, one of the major trails across the province, and carries a lot of traffic. So it would be very, very nice for our club to be able to get this access back if it's possible in the near future, because we're sorely missing that trail and the connectors that it feeds, or not feeds, but gets fed to other locations in our trail system. So we've had to close 2-3 trails that go off it, because there's just no sense in bringing a trail that dead ends at the rail corridor and then not be able to access it. So I'm not sure if we have any questions from anybody in the crowd about it or any concerns.
There was quite a good piece in the package that gave us information that you wanted to talk about. Oh, thank you, Fran. I keep forgetting to push this button. Sure. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Yes, Ron.
Yes.
Let me turn mine on.
So if the trail's not open, do you have any other options to like a long routes for the trails, or?
We exercised one of those options last year. It certainly wasn't perfect. It got us around the situation, but those club trails are quite a bit smaller and just like highways, are just not designed to carry that extra traffic, which meant redirecting resources to those places to keep the trail safe. But they're just not made to handle that kind of traffic. They're not as wide, not as safe. The sight lines aren't as good. So literally, it's like closing the 401 and putting everything on Highway 10 here. It's the same situation. We're getting a lot more traffic on trails that just aren't designed for it. So we are getting by, but it's just not, that's not that it's not viable, it's just not as good as it should be.
Thank you. And for those sections of the KMP open, are you pleased with the width and the design of those trails?
Doesn't really get any better. It's an old rail corridor, so it's as wide as we, pretty much as wide as we need it to be. Our grooming equipment is combined with there's the drag that sits behind a tractor. It's 8 foot and 9 foot width, and we usually go double wide on the train tracks. So where we can, there's some spots where it narrows down to like a bridge, or possibly just an area that's built up quite high where there's only width for the track and a bit of the ballast, but it doesn't get too much better than that. Compared to like bush trails, which are usually winding, very hilly, blind corners on the train tracks. It's great because you just got wide open sight lines, and it's just safer for everybody involved. So,
Well, that's good to hear. Do we have any more questions? Yes.
Just a comment, Grant sits on the Central Frontenac Trails Committee, and we have talked about this at our committee meeting, and the fact that we are in negotiations to obtain the property and to make that so that we can have this trail long-term. Maybe Kelly, if you have anything to add about where we're at with those negotiations.
We continue to negotiate with several of the property owners and have commenced expropriation on the ones the council has authorized. It's the landowners that have blocked the access, it's not the county. I want to make sure everybody understands that. We are in negotiations, we're hopeful to have it done before the end of the year, but that hasn't happened yet. But we continue to press forward, and hopefully for next year, fully open.
perfect. The president of the club was in conversation with Bob Riddell at Robertsville, and he had offered either like almost like a counter offer originally to get fencing along his property, because he has quarries on either side, and there was a bit of trespassing going on his property on either side of the rail corridor, just because people saw the open area, the sand pits, and they would, ATVs and snowmobiles would all go off there. He was requesting that somebody provide fencing along there. That portion, I believe, is approximately, I think it's about 500 meters each side of the trail there that was required fencing, and I believe he was suggesting that would have been, or that was an option for the council to provide fencing on either side of that property, and he would allow the gates to be open. Is there any record of that?
There's been ongoing negotiations, and we are in expropriation proceedings with this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, it's nice to hear that the trail's being used by you and others, and because this has been a project going on since I got on council, so it's nice to hear that it's appreciated and be used, and we will address those issues that you brought to our attention. And I know staff has been working extremely hard, and we've had several discussions in camera, which we can't really talk here in open session, but rest assured, we'll get it over.
Well, that's very good to hear.
And since I'm leaving soon, it will be up to other people's dedication to carry it on. So thanks very much for coming out,
All
Grant.
right, then.
Appreciate your discussion.
Well, thanks for having me. All right,
Welcome. Have a good day
all
now.
right, take care.
Happy snowmobiling.
All right, I'll see you around. Take care.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today, no, not for a while. I don't want to either.
2 months.
All right, thanks, folks.
But I understand going down south of the border, they're having a major snowstorm down in Indiana.
I heard that.
Yeah. Really?
Yes, that's where I'm going this afternoon. I'm not going that far.
You have snowmobile?
No.
Yeah. Okay, enough fun. I think we're gonna move into the three of the holes.
Sorry, there's just one proclamation on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over GIS day and week. Yes, let's do the proclamation.
Moved by Councillor Vanderwall, seconded by Councillor Martin, whereas Geography Awareness Week is November 14th to 18th, 2022, and whereas International Geographic Information System GIS Day is November 16th, 2022, and whereas Geography Awareness Week promotes GIS and geography literacy, and whereas GIS is an important part of geography awareness, and whereas the County of Frontenac is committed to expanding GIS awareness throughout the county in order to showcase real-world applications with GIS, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac hereby proclaims November 16th, 2022 as GIS Day in Frontenac County.
Any questions on that? I don't see Kevin with us, so I don't know who we asked him to. If there's none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Now we can move on to moving into the committee of whole.
Moved by Councillor Rebel, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that council adjourn and meet as committee of the whole council with the deputy board chair.
All in favor? Carry. Mike, is yours.
Thank you, Martin. First on the agenda, committee of the whole is a briefing from Mr. Kelly Tender, CAO. All yours, Kelly.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Thank you, Brianna. So this is your October 19th report, and as usual, I'll highlight a couple of items off each page, and if there's any questions on any of it, we'll answer them today or get back to you as soon as possible. So a couple of meetings of note here. I draw particular attention to the October 12th groundbreaking of the paramedic station, and we were lucky enough to have 4 members of council and our MP and NPP for the area, and representation from the city of Kingston, United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, Lennox and Addington, and our contractor. A nice crowd, a beautiful day. I was responsible for the weather, but other than that, and I'd also note that ongoing union negotiations. So over the next 3 months, Barb and her team, plus the various directors and chief chevalier will be in union negotiations, which are generally day-long events that will take them out of action, but we're making progress on all 3. It's rare that we have all 3 collective agreements open at the same time in negotiations, but we are making progress. The Warden's Caucus meeting last Thursday and Friday in Northumberland County, the caucus confirmed a pledge that will be flushed out over the next few weeks and brought to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing to commit to 7,000 affordable housing units in Eastern Ontario over the next 7 years. So a small working group, of which I'm not a part of, will be meeting over the next few weeks and finalizing the plan to bring back to the Warden's Caucus at the annual general meeting in January. We're quite excited about the project scope of in breadth of what's going to be required in order to make that happen. And we know that it's important for rural Ontario that there be affordable housing options available in rural areas, not just in urban areas. So that will be a focus as well. Yesterday, the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council met in the afternoon, and we reviewed the labor market project, which is looking at where is the labor from a skills-based perspective and the potential to make that public, as well as the one-window permitting system, which would allow a trucker going from Cobourg to Renfrew, say, to book all of their oversized permits on one site and also have the route made for them. So certainly making progress on that front as well. The More Homes for Everyone Act, and included in that is also strong mayor's legislation. And most of you, or all of you, should have received a questionnaire from AMO looking for your opinions on strong mayor, and I urge you to participate in that forum. And I suspect that AMO will be developing a formal position as a result of some of that consultation. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I should mention on that strong mayors, there was a lot of negative feedback from all the wardens on that concept. They just basically thought it was undemocratic. I don't think I ever saw the group get so emotional with anything. I tried to fire them up on lobbying the province municipal affairs to help us work through delays with MOE or M&R or whatever other ministries were planning to tied up in. But I didn't have as much success as the people complaining about the strong mayors.
Kelly, you said we should have received emails from the AMO. I just saw a few people saying, no, we haven't got them yet. I haven't either.
I've gotten a couple surveys that I just passed over.
They were to go to each head of council, each member of council, and looking forward to council.
Go ahead, Councilor Bidwell.
Yes. Yesterday, the province is announcing that they're gonna actually expand the strong mayors.
He said that yesterday.
But one of the interesting predicaments for county councils is how does that work when we elect a ward once every year? So, yeah, it'll be interesting. So on oops, I skipped over that one. I just want to draw your attention that the province is doing another review, actually the fourth review of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability AODA Act. So we expect that there will be changes coming out of that. Having said that, I think our joint committee is working well, making good progress on buildings and facilities and the trail, and looking forward to seeing what comes out of this review and how we can move that matter forward. So the Enabling Accessibility Fund call for proposals. So if you have a project in a public building, publicly accessible building, and you're looking at ramps, doors, accessible washrooms, elevators, and lifts, for example, opportunity there for your municipality. The training for heads of councils and new councillor dates are out and registration is available. So if you're acclaimed and want to take advantage of that or anticipate being elected, those forms are available for you or for any of your council members. Just a bit of an administrative building update. We have our meeting with the contractor and the architect every second Tuesday morning. So next Tuesday morning, we'll be meeting again and making really good progress. Maybe just turn to the pictures here. So this is the former Paramedics suite, which has been framed, and by the time we get there on Tuesday, it should be drywalled. Yeah, I don't think we appreciated the size of that space until we took down all the walls, and the more open concept will really make that space very viable for the Conservation Authority, and the meeting rooms in that section, which will be shared meeting rooms, going to be amazing as well. So progress. The outside excavation work has commenced. So just a reminder, there are 3 additions to the building. One at the front, which we received the grant for to make the front lobby more accessible and allow for a distance separation. The former Bud Clayton room will be torn down and replaced with the new council chambers boardroom. And then on the south side will be the joint collaboration space. So that excavation work has commenced, and foundation work will be underway shortly.
Will it be torn down shortly?
I anticipate.
And that's the section we need to take that asbestos as
Yes.
important to, I think.
Well, they've actually come up with a different plan, which is to treat the entire Bud Clayton room, may you rest in peace, the entire Bud Clayton room as contaminated materials, which will be cheaper to just take it all away than to try and separate it out.
Okay, that's.
So I mean, it's not a huge savings, but it's a big savings in time.
The Bud Clayton area recognizes Bud Clayton. Will there still be some kind of recognition for Bud Clayton?
Yeah, there's a meeting room directly across from the boardroom and council chambers that will have Bud Clayton moniker on it. So it'll be essentially the committee room.
Okay, thanks.
Similar to what it is now. Staff are quite anxious to see the hot tub that's supposedly under the floor of the playground.
What?
And we hope we can have pictures of that.
Are you gonna have one use of it before it's taken off?
No.
Oh. I don't say, send us an invitation. That's
Yes, no deep dives.
a
So here's Barb's human resources update, 385 postings and ongoing human resources crisis and our part-time recruitment for Frontenac paramedics. And we fell a little bit short, Chief.
Yeah, we were hoping to hire up to 12. I think we only got 15 applications and we're partway through interviews now, so we'll see how many.
And of course, our OPSU, QP, and QP negotiation dates are there. And it looks like Barb is going to do nothing for the next few weeks of the union negotiations. And investigation. Our HRIS software that we received the grant for, and we jointly tendered with Leeds and Grenville is coming along. We're a little bit delayed on a couple of items, but hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be live on all fronts. And so a number of learning and development exercises, including 360 feedbacks, project management course on November the 23rd and 24th for people who handle projects. And I would note that Kevin is doing a Lean Six Sigma training the first week in December as well. And with fall comes an increase in COVID sick time and dealing with that. So we continue to stress upon staff the importance of proper PPE and getting the 4th and 5th vaccination depending on where you're at. So congratulations to the Governor General Awards, which were 2 weeks ago in Niagara Falls. We had 5 members of our force that received exemplary service awards at that. The groundbreaking for the new paramedic station and preparing for Queen's Homecoming and what we're calling Faux-coming, which is the week after, 2 weeks after.
No, it's this weekend.
This weekend, where the Queen's Homecoming doesn't have a football game associated with it, but certain Queen's graduates, but not this one, are planning events for events. Engagement and communications update, and I'll just refer to my notes here from Matt. Measurable engagements across all digital channels were 58,554 in September. Down 18% from July and August, with a little bit of a fall slump there. But Open Farms promotion was quite strong and continue to make progress across all channels. And just a reminder, we're measuring engagement instead of followers now, which is truer measure of people are interacting. Our top performing social media posts were related to healthcare workers working over the Labor Day weekend and National Truth and Reconciliation Orange Shirt Day. So and Open Farms. So, the planning update from Joe and Sonia. 3 major projects complete or nearing completion. Charlotte Lake School Site Redevelopment Project and servicing accepted by the township on September the 20th. So there will be an implementation plan, which will be the next step, including servicing and Central Frontenac zoning bylaw. Statutory public meeting held on October the 11th, and GIS has been completed. So making progress there, and of course the Marysville secondary plan. Final draft of the OPA is on today's agenda. North and Central tied for their applications over the month, and in terms of new applications, the percentage of files will be about 60% of the total volume for last year. So 60, running just slightly behind. But there were a number of files submitted late in 2021, so the workload is actually about 68% of the total. So on track for a similar year to last year in terms of workload. And just a reminder of our economic development business awards and retreat to be held October the 20th in downtown Parham at the RKY camp, which I understand is a wonderful facility. Really nice job, and thank you to those in the suburbs, suburban Parham. And congratulations to the prospective winners who will be announced at the event, and thank you to all the businesses and citizens of Frontenac who have made nominations. Sure.
Thank you, Kelly. Any other final questions for Kelly? Seeing none, move on to recommended reports 2022-118.
Moved by Councillor Higgs, seconded by Councillor Smith, resolved that council of the County of Frontenac receive the corporate services Frontenac, Cattle Islander, Ferry fees and care schedule report, and further that a bylaw be introduced later in the meeting to adopt the 2023 Frontenac, Cattle Islander, Ferry fees and care schedule.
Comments or questions on that? Councillor Higgs?
I note that I note that we're allowed up to a 5% carryover. And I just wondered what that amount was. How much carryover do we have going into this year?
I don't have the exact amount, but I can have Alex and Phil send you the amount. We won't know this year's until all the accounts have been reconciled. But we can get the balance in the account.
And I just want to thank everyone for holding the rates the same as last year. That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor? It's carried. Next report.
Moved by Councillor Vanderwall, seconded by Councillor Martin, be it resolved that the Council of the County Council receive the corporate services amendments to budget policy report, and further that the clerk be directed to bring forward a bylaw to establish a budget policy attached to this report as appendix B, and further that bylaw 2015-0026 being a bylaw to adopt a budget policy be rescinded.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Heard. Next report.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Rebel, resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac pass a bylaw later in the meeting to appoint municipal law enforcement officers for the corporation of the County of Frontenac as per appendix A to this report, and further that Richard Allen, Gerald Cormier, Rob Dillaba, and Dakota Thompson be appointed as municipal law enforcement officers for the corporation of the County of Frontenac.
Questions or comments? Councillor Smith?
I guess my question is, did they take some courses or will they be taking courses?
Yes, so we will be providing some training to them on what needs to be captured when they do transferences.
Councillor McDonald? Kelly, can you-
Same question is that what training is required? My question has been answered. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Vanderwall?
Could they send the weed inspector to them?
For plants personally, so.
I think he's already certified. He's not certified.
He's certifiable.
Councillor Higgs?
I just have one question. Is this appointment a paid job?
No, it isn't. It's part of the regular duties.
Okay.
I see that there's Richard as a manager is out on the trails a lot. Is that why he's listed as well?
Yeah, so in each instance, so Richard be the primary one, Gerald, because he does project management, of course, will be his backup. So, primary Richard.
Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Next report.
Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Higgs, resolved that the Council of the County of Frontenac received the Emergency and Transportation Services 2023 Legislative Response Times Performance Plan Report for information, and further that Council direct the clerk to introduce bylaw later in the meeting adopting the response time standards as outlined in this report.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Moving to information reports from the CAO and the quarterly joint administration facility update, the quarterly update activity report for Paramount. The planning and economic development snowmobile season on the Toronto Trail. Is there any questions or comments on those? Motion to approve. Reports from council liaison appointees. We have in the package Paramount Hall liaison report from Councilor Martin. Any questions on those? Councilor Martin.
I think it really should say Susan Rant, City Councilor.
You're so honest, Jerry.
Thank you. No report required, no motion required. No reports from external boards, reports from advisory committees of council. Private advisory committee.
Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Vanderwall, that the report received from the Planning Advisory Committee be received and adopted.
Any questions or comments on those? I did have to start with your find.
The report from the committee is the official plan amendment for the township on that islands regarding the spill section.
In section 5.5.4.1, number 8, I had a question. How many individual lots are expected, and does each applicant have to do an assessment? I guess was my question. And the assessment seems related to water and septic. So I don't know if each lot individual as a procurement has to do the assessment, or can one assessment be done for all? Just clarification, I guess.
I guess we didn't get into that detail yet. We haven't done the zoning or.
This is just the secondary plan, which is the enabling legislation, and would be detailed. So for example, if it's a plan of subdivision, it would be done jointly. Or what often happens is several developers or property owners will get together and do a joint servicing agreement. But it is stipulated in communal, so it would be lot by lot. And Joe was on the line in case I said anything too far off.
So the way I heard you describe that, so if it's a large development, it would do one assessment, but if it's individual lots, say there's 10, we have to do 10 individual assessments. Would that be right? Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't on. Let me repeat the question from the audience. I guess my question was from the answer the CAO gave that there would be some planning development related to some major lots, and then there would be individual lots as well.
No, it would be all communal, so it would be jointly, so it would not be individual servicing. So if you had a property and you propose 15 lots, there would have to be a servicing plan for those 15 lots. More likely, it will be large subdivisions, and it will be a communal service that services the entire subdivision.
Thank you. You wanted to add to Martin?
I just might add for clarification that this is basically expanding the village boundaries of the village of Marysville. And there's, I think, only 2 property owners in that section, one of which is the township, which owns about 1/3 of it, and then a private owns the other 2/3. So it's not like they're individual lots to start with. So of course, there will be a lot of planning going on through the county once we get to that stage. But the net of it is we've expanded the boundaries of the village of Marysville with some ideas and concepts going forward with what we visualized happening.
Thank you. The other question I had, we're having this issue in our township related to short-term rentals, being on commercial versus individual residential lots, etc. Have you addressed that in the plan, and just for preventive action perspective to regulate STRs in that area? Maybe that's a question for Joel, I'm not sure.
This being a secondary plan, so it's not at the zoning bylaw level. So Joe can probably confirm that we're pretty confident there is nothing in that plan with respect to short-term rentals. I think Joe is on line.
Joe, did you have a comment?
Through you,
Rosa.
I apologize, I'm having difficulty. Your question was with respect to short-term rentals?
That's correct. We're gonna make just a precautionary comment, I guess. We're having issues across the townships related to short-term rentals. And might give an opportunity in the official plan or the zoning bylaw to make sure they're regulated accordingly.
Just like the other 3 townships, Frontenac Islands is experiencing problems with short-term rentals right now. The township has received a number of complaints. I think part of the solution is going to have to come from the province, either changes to the Planning Act or the Municipal Act to help us right now. There's limited tools available to control it from a land use perspective. They're treated like a single detached dwelling, but we are hoping the province will see that this is an issue and provide more direction for us.
Thank you for that, Joe. That's all the questions I have. Any other comments or questions? All in favor? All right. Next week. Return to council, I guess.
No, we
Oh, sorry.
have a report from the Chief Administrative Officer Performance Appraisal Review Panel, moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Warden Doyle, that the report received from the Chief Administrative Officer Performance Appraisal Review Panel be received and adopted. And that recommendation is that County Council recommend to the next council that should they wish to carry out a strategic plan, that they consider Explorer Solutions as a successful proponent.
So questions or comments on it? All in favor? Carried. And then we return to council.
Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Rebel, that council revert from committee of the whole council to council.
Sorry, Warden.
Oh,
sorry.
That's
All in
your-
favor?
Yeah.
Carried. Over to you, Warden. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. We're back to the regular council, and we've got the adoption of the report from the committee of the whole.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Higgs, that the report of the committee of the whole be adopted and that the necessary actions or bylaws be enacted.
All in favor? Carried. And the next is a request by Township of Frontenac, of North Frontenac, on reallocation of seniors housing. Yes, Deputy Warden.
Yes, in light of the new report we're submitting today, I'd like to, with the permission of council, we move for withdraw the request that we originally provided in October, as it's a duplicate and it basically repeats what's in item C of the motions. So I'd like to withdraw that motion and ask for the motion C to be moved to A before we do B with council's permission.
What's council feel, and can we move it, or what's the procedure since that other motion was on the floor first?
Council can move things around in the agenda with the consent.
Okay.
As I understand the procedural bylaw, motion isn't required and requesting for removal and council approves.
And you want your motion moved up ahead of the motion that was on the table last time? Okay. What's council feel about that? If there's no comment, I'll call the vote. All in favor? I guess it's moved up then. Okay. So where is that? Let's go on the agenda. So B, we now are going to go down to C.
C and then D.
C and then D. Okay. Okay, what, do you want to read the motion first then, Jeanette, and then we get into the discussion?
Moved by Deputy Warden Higgins, seconded by Councillor Martin, and it has been asked that each of these be voted on separately. Number one, that the county provide the $337,500 allocated to North Frontenac seniors to be used to assist seniors to stay in their homes. Or number 2, that county council approved North Frontenac's request for $100,000 of the $337,500 seniors housing money allocated from the county. Number 3, that the remaining $237,500 be provided towards other seniors housing projects within the other 3 townships. Or number 4, that the remaining $237,500 be left in the county account for future discussion and resolution.
Okay, I'll open up for questions and first Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Ward. I'd just like to provide a summary of everything I've provided over the last few months on this one. The report that we're presenting here today, we've made the case for providing that the seniors home funding by pointing out that the funding can be used for either seniors aging at home or a seniors housing facility. We've also researched several articles from around the world and in Canada on this topic, and there are pros and cons for each option, but the majority recommended seniors age at home for as long as they are able. Doing so assists the seniors to stay at home and avoids the needs to go to senior retirement homes or long-term care facilities. Aging at home has been promoted by the province due to these circumstances and the shortage of affordable assisted living, hospital bed shortage, and backlogs of long-term care facilities. Seniors in a survey conducted on behalf of Home Care Ontario had 91% of Ontario seniors reveal that they want to stay in their home or apartment for as long as possible. This is very similar to the survey that our township conducted. In the case for North Frontenac, we surveyed our seniors and our council listened, and we have implemented a stay-at-home reserve to make this happen starting in the next term of council. We firmly believe and ask council to please support our seniors in the north part of the county. Our needs are not the same as other townships in the county in this regard, and we implore you to please respect this aspect. The reason we're taking this approach is not only to respect the wishes of seniors, but it also allows the seniors to maintain their life of freedom and independence and maintain a familiar environment close to their friends, their family, and the community at large. It also provides physical and emotional stress from leaving a home with lifetime full of memories. We currently use community services for medical assistance, transportation to appointments, and meals. At times, transportation is too costly for some due to their financial position, and we could provide some additional assistance in that regard. We also implemented the paramedicine program with Passive Township. The full detail of our age at home option still needs to be finalized and a policy procedure to be developed by the new council. But we envision the following examples of service to be part of this program: transportation to community events for social interaction, assistance with winter and summer yard maintenance, accessibility renovations, and routine home maintenance. The Age at Home program would not fully fund these services in most cases, and the program would provide some financial assistance based on approved application by the senior. We would also partner with the federal and provincial programs, CMHC, and other key stakeholders that provide financial assistance. The county allocated funding will allow us to build a reserve over the coming years, so when the county provided funds runs out, we will have a sustainable reserve in place to allow for continued assistance and ongoing sustainability. I believe by partnering with the county for this project and enhancing what we have in place, such as community services and paramedicine, we have a really significant opportunity to provide a best-in-class Canadian model to assist the seniors to age in place. And just a final note, I was thinking on the way here this morning that these funds have already been allocated, has been allocated to other townships. And so we're just asking for a release of those allocated funds. And with that, I'll turn it over to comments. Back to you, Warden.
Thank you, Deputy Warden, for the explanation. I think I'll start off with my comments because I stayed silent the last time at the meeting when the discussion was going on, but it did bring back fond memories of my friend Bud Clayton. Bud was the person who drove this. I get the emotion. And he was adamant that we needed seniors apartments where people could go when they could no longer manage their own household. It wasn't about modifications to keep people in their house longer. It was about giving them an option. Because as he said, there was lots of programs available federally and provincially and coordinated by the city of Kingston through the housing and social services group, which we all pay into through our property taxes. So people can stay in their home longer through those programs. So, and when we built the facility in the islands, we ended up putting up 75% and got a quarter of the cost from that fund. So it would, in this proposal, I don't see any guarantee that there'll be local funds that top it up. But I think it goes against the intent of it, or I know it goes against the intent of Bud Clayton and Gary Davison was the other one who was really strong on this proposal. So I'd like to now pass it over to Ron Vanderwall, Councillor Vanderwall.
I don't support these motions. I think if council, this council at the present time, although it's late, wants to leave the funds in the county coffer, I would support that instead of allocating it right at this moment to the Community Services Corporation. But this fund was set up for that reason, and everybody else had a plan to do it. There are lots of other programs for keeping seniors in their homes. And I don't think that we should turn this money over to North Frontenac just because that's their plan. If they have a plan that came forward just like Central and all the rest of us, that's different. But I won't support this the way it is.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I agree with Ron. North Frontenac has this 337,000 for bricks and mortar. I would support that, and I could see a nice little apartment in Ampa Plevna for seniors to move into when they can't stay in their own homes. The proposal to put it into the Municipal Service Corporation, what I see that being is in Charlotte Lake, for instance, instead of us building 10 units, we could probably build 15, of which some of the Frontenac or the North Frontenac people might want to come to live in Charlotte Lake in a little 1-bedroom apartment that's affordable, that's close to a store, to a doctor, to just be able to stay in the community and have their relatives probably drive past their door. But I don't support just giving this to North Frontenac to put in their coffers. I don't mind leaving it in the county hands until the next council takes another look at whether or not they can actually build something for the residents of North Frontenac.
Yes, Deputy Warden.
I'd like to respond to the financing that yourself and Councillor Smith brought up. The funds would never be transferred to North Frontenac. They would only be allocated to North Frontenac as per the funding model that's in the report. So the money stays with the county and we submit receipts accordingly, same as you did for the bricks and mortar solution. And Councillor Smith mentioned there's bricks and mortar only. That's not true based on the research I did on the strategic plan and the other documents related to this. As I show in the report, you can have either model and make it home or bricks and mortar.
Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Lavelle.
Thank you, Warden. I have a slightly different perspective on this matter. Some while ago, a consulting firm that I was involved with did a study on behalf of the Ministry of Housing Eastern Region, looking at some of the rationale why there were vacancies in some of the Ontario Housing Corporation units. And we discovered essentially that the vacancies occurred where there were very minimal community services available for the residents. And essentially, seniors were voting with their feet not to go to those places, like Palmer Rapids, where they've always had consistent vacancy issues because there's really very little in the community to support that. And those areas where there were relatively robust community services in the commercial center to the village, those Ontario Housing Corporation units remained with a strong waiting list. So my sense also in North Frontenac is that although Cloyne probably has a larger commercial base, it's at the very
extreme boundary of the village or the municipality. And Plevna has a somewhat more modest commercial base and community hub in that area. So I think there would be some real challenges in placing units in Plevna as an example, and almost certainly it would be difficult to support. So I do believe there is some rationale for considering some other options that the county might consider in trying to support seniors in North Frontenac. Whether it's something that has to be dealt with today, I'm not sure, but I do believe there are some options that, and I'd like to hear more of a flesh out plan from North Frontenac in terms of how they might specifically use the funds in a sustainable manner, but so there will be a continual investment and use of the funds that does in fact meet the needs of the seniors in the community. So I would certainly be prepared to consider a variety of options here, but whether it remains in the county or whether it's turned over to North Frontenac, I think we'd like to see a little more of a plan fleshed out for that people. Thank you.
Yes, Jerry.
Well, in the follow-up to Councilor Bell, I know right now we have, it's a duplex that was built, it's a private building. It was built with seniors in mind. It has wheelchair access, grab bars, no stairs, this sort of thing. It's a 2-unit place, and it's been, the one unit's been empty since the first of the summer and the other one since August, and the two sides. And the reason being, he just hasn't had seniors come forward asking to rent the facility. The rent, the new rent will be $950 per month plus utilities, and the rent before was $750 plus utilities. But right now, he doesn't have any clients looking to rent that facility. And it's a modern building, it's clean, it's 2-bedroom, each 2-bedroom with all the amenities in place. And I agree, like, we don't have an urban hub sort of thing with amenities for our seniors. Seniors that we have are already housed and they're in their own buildings, but it's getting more and more difficult for them to stay in those buildings. And it goes back to what about Clayton, his time, he thought that the people needed help. They just couldn't look after their place anymore. So they're being forced to go to some kind of community housing. And I really think we're onto something here. It's a bit of an answer now, whether or not we get the funds now or maybe the next council or whatever, but those funds should remain available to either North Frontenac or stay with the county. I don't want to see those funds disappear into some slush fund somewhere for MSC or something like that. I just don't think that's right. Our seniors do need assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Anything else? Yes, Councilor Hicks.
I don't have a lot to say here, but I'm just looking at the numbers. If in the case of Marysville, where you built a building there, that building will be there for a long time, and the money was spent wisely. If you start fixing up different people's properties to stay in their house a little longer, before you know it, the money is gone and they won't show as an asset. So I worry about spending the money so that it's going to work for a long time.
Thank you. Yes, Bill.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I have no problem with this money staying in the county until such times as we see plans that North Frontenac is actually going to come forward with. I'm under the impression these are for bricks and mortar, and you say you have some plans to support seniors in their homes. What I would like to do is I'd like to postpone moving any of the money until such times we actually see a set of plans that come forward in which to support your request for the $100,000. But at this point, the things that I've heard are already available through social services provided to seniors that are in the home through the aging at home policies of the provincial government. So I'm prepared to let the money sit there until such times as we see those plans coming forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we want to vote on each of these now, or if there's more questions? Yeah, yes, Deputy Warden first, and then Councillor Van.
So I heard a couple comments about, okay, we'd like to see more detailed plans. The reason we haven't provided detailed plans is because of this council's decision in the past to not give us the amount, not to release the funds because we weren't doing bricks and mortar. That's the rationale for laying out the resolution and the motions individually as we are, because we're not sure how council's going to vote on this. I like the idea of the funds remaining, and with the funds have to remain in the county one way or another, and they only get released to each township based on receipts. So that's a given. We're not going to have the money come into our account. It's going to stay with the county, and we provide seats accordingly. The sustainability that Councillor Hicks talked about, and I believe I laid that out with the money, it allows us to continue topping up the 100,000 that we've already put into that reserve, and allows us to manage our reserve same as any other reserve with targets, and we top it up at the annual budget time. So just wanted to make those comments. Based on what I heard, I'm not sure if the motion should be withdrawn, and we just change the motion to allow the funds to stay with the county until we provide a detailed plan before we vote.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderwall.
That my suggestion was going to be, if you want to vote on it now and take that risk, you can. However, if you wanted me to make a friendly amendment that we defer this to the next council to see if this meets the criteria of that fund, or if there's a different plan, I would support that. But if you're just going to vote on, you can do that too and take the chance. That's my opinion. If I could make the amendment, I will. If somebody wants to second, if they don't, then I think we should vote on.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. The clerk is reading it, and maybe we'll.
That was a motion, I will just second that.
Yes, you did. Moved by Vanderwall.
So the motion is to leave it in the funds to be provided detail plan.
Leave it just the way it is now until the next council, and if there comes a more detailed report on how it actually addresses it to what this money was used for, and if there is a plan, I don't have a problem with that. But I won't support it the way it's sitting here.
So just for some clarification, so you want to defer it to the next council, and I originally heard to confirm that the request by North Frontenac aligns with the intent of the funds. Is that what, or is it deferred pending North Frontenac come back with how they're going to use these funds?
Sure.
Instead of deferral, the county remains in the funds until the next North Frontenac Council defines a plan to implement the funds. So I think that's what you're saying.
Developed a detailed plan how the funds are going to be used.
Because I'm not sure if deferral is adequate in this case because a new council's coming in place, so maybe just I don't know how to word it, trying to clerical.
That's the clerk to decide how to word that.
So it sounds to me like those are two different motions.
Yes.
So the motion that you have here could be withdrawn. And then a new motion could be put forward, that the funds remain with the county until such time that. That's,
Plan.
That's the cleanest way to do it.
Right.
yeah, so we're gonna withdraw this. And we're going to have a new motion, that.
Moved by Councillor Vanderwall, second by Councillor Gravel.
So the new motion would be, that the North Frontenac allocation of seniors housing funds remain with the county until.
And that, my friend, I bring forward their plan for the next council.
Better be careful.
Their detailed plan, how they're going to spend their money.
That's right.
Including needs testing, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I want the word transfer, I think it's disbursement.
yes.
All of you guys are coming back next time, eh, so we can deal with this again.
Find out Monday.
Late Monday.
Sorry, so
Sorry,
North
on Tuesday.
Frontenac is coming back with a detailed plan on how they will use the funding? Or a detailed plan on,
How about just a detailed plan,
A program.
financial plan?
okay, so then basically it would be that the North Frontenac allocation of seniors housing funds remain with the county. And further that North Frontenac bring back a detailed financial plan on their aging.
Proposed spending.
I think it's a financial plan, it's more of the implementation, project implementation.
I like that.
Detailed.
Project implementation.
That's right, that's what we do.
And just to add to that. No, I was just going to add to that, with the plan, take a look at what's already available and how that works into it.
So can we add a further?
Yeah, and further.
I think we're
Complicating
complicating it.
Yeah, I think it may
Yeah.
be too much.
I think we're complicating it. I think we could have left it that the fund stayed with the county until a further proposal comes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Keep it simple.
Obviously, we're gonna work with stakeholders and integrate and develop a plan.
And when you think of a clear plan, it'll come back.
I guess, and if it's not clear, then it will go back again.
And this time next year, we'll be still talking about it.
Okay, so then it will be that the North Frontenac allocation of seniors funds, housing funds remain with the county. And further that the North Frontenac bring back a detailed implementation plan.
Okay, we're comfortable mover and seconder. Any more questions before I call the vote? All in favor? Okay, we're moving. Yes, just, yeah, go ahead.
Just want to thank council for considering this. I know we've been a pain in the butt with this. I do appreciate that you're listening and helping move it forward, so thank you.
Something we all can agree on that moment.
Okay, now moving forward, given we have B on here, do we have to
I would
deal
like
with
to
it?
propose deferring B till the
We'll
next
defer B as
council.
well, till after the C that we just discussed in the next council. Do we have to have a motion on deferring? Make it clean, yeah. Okay.
I'll move that.
Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Higgs. And are you going to read that and we're going to
Just that,
vote on it?
sorry, just that the motion is deferred to the next council meeting.
Yeah, and so
Council.
Friendly notice.
Yeah, I think just next council.
Next
Better do
council.
that,
Yeah,
because-
next council. All in favor of that? Carry.
That's
I think we're moving on. I think we're as far down as giving notice of motions now. aren't
I don't want to deal with it at the inaugural meeting. I used to deal with it at the inaugural meeting.
It's gonna take us a while to get the time.
we? Madam Clerk, maybe you can help me. I think we're down to giving notice of motions now because we've dealt with all the other variations, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so I guess there is none. And communications, we got a long list there, well, a short list this time, actually. Any questions on those? Any, I guess we're down to other business, none. Any questions from the public? None, Brianna, nobody's got their hands up? Well, I think we're near the end, so I think it's time for me to make a statement. I think Madam Clerk was the last time that I'll be doing this.
That's correct. So we'll put that under other business and that's the place to make statements.
So I guess I just want to say it's been quite a ride over the last 16 years. I started after I retired from my normal job, moving from Toronto to back home to Wolf Island, and something to do. I got talked into running for council, got on council, and really got involved with the county very early in the game, because we had an excellent mayor at the time, Jim Vandenhoek, and he asked me to sit on the Trails Committee. So I was introduced to the county there, and I guess it was that work that started, I guess, 2007, 2008 timeframe, and led me to get interested in county council, and I guess then challenged Jim for the mayor's seat, and then been on county council for 3 terms now, 12 years. So it's been quite a diversion from my retirement, and now I want to get back to retirement, and want to wish the council all the best in the future. But before I leave the chair, I want to say that we've accomplished a lot during the time that I've been on council. I think the major project that started off the accomplishments was really initiated by Bud Clayton and Gary Davidson, which I supported, and that was a full service delivery review, which we brought in KPMG to look at what was happening at the county. And really, we were still running as the old management board type of thing that I think, Bill, you were on for the first few years, and maybe Fran even, that was after the Bill. So it was quite different than what the county is today. So, and we hadn't really made the transition to a full-fledged county. Now we're probably one of the leaders in the Eastern Ontario group of 12 because of the work that KPMG did on that service delivery review, but probably more importantly, when we went out and Gary and Bill, or Gary and Bud and I went out and looked for a new CEO, and thankfully we got Kelly Pender, who has really done an excellent job of leading us through the last, I guess, what, 10 years now? 8? Oh, is it only 8? Okay. Yeah. So we've done a lot of things since then, and we've developed Crawford strategic plan, which was one of the suggestions in the KMG report. We also got very heavily into continuous improvement through the Six Sigma process, which, as you know, Kevin Farrell has led over the years. So we've made a lot of accomplishments there. The next thing that we got into is talking about planning. We had a fairly small planning group at the time that I started, and we expanded that. One of the first things we did locally in the islands was contract with the county to do our local planning, because we were using various consultants, which none of lived in our region, and they had very little or no understanding of our term. But since then, through Director Joe Galvin's hard work, we worked out processes to improve that locally in the islands, and then expanded to three of the municipalities are using it, and maybe in the future we'll have 4, but it's working extremely well. The other things that happened under Joe's direction and Kelly's as well, coming from an old planner, I guess you were in your junior days, what, 40, 50 years ago? And we had a major project, I think it was maybe before you folks got on county council, but the private roads, it was a real mess. And the province was trying to say, no more building on private roads, like, and that would have shut down our rural areas big time. So we fought hard, and Joe and I met with the minister, and we discussed an open forum at AMO, and I think it was the shortest answer from minister ever. I asked the question, basically, are you prepared to allow us to build on private roads under the proposal we've put on the floor? And his answer was yes, and that was it. And we moved forward, so made great progress there. Communal services is one of the other big ones, and we're known as the leader on that across Ontario, and hopefully once that's implemented, it'll be used right across the province. And in long-term care homes, Fairmount, we were the leaders way back 8-10 years ago on promoting 4 hours of care for all our people in Fairmount. And we kept the conversation going, whereas others were still down at 2.5 hours of care. We were well over 3, and we're marching very quickly to have that full 4. But now that's become really a policy right across Ontario in long-term care homes. And the next one is the paramedics. We've been leaders on various things. We've done a lot of work, and Gail was involved on things like the automatic unloading stretchers and various other improvements that help our paramedics and keep them safe on the job. The other thing was we've broken sod for a new building up at our Fairmount county offices. So, and we're moving forward with lots of good things with the paramedic service, and the community paramedics was a major project that we worked closely with Renfrew County on in the beginning, and now that's been expanded in various places, and we're more integrated in the overall healthcare, where we're helping to try to keep people out of the hospitals and other streams of healthcare. So we're not a true partner now. We were very involved at the county on the COVID pandemic. We I think we're one of the only regions that had weekly meetings with our medical officer health, and we were, I think, the first to declare emergency right across all municipalities in our KFLNA region. And you know, we did a lot of discussion. I think every mayor in this county attended every phone call. Some of the others weren't quite as active, but we were there working through the issues day in and day out. And we had Kieran Moore back for a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he pointed out that we were the leaders in our region on vaccinations against COVID. But in addition, the real prize was we had the lowest death rate of any of the 34 health units through the pandemic.
And we helped get him promoted.
Well, and yeah, not help. We were the reason. Yeah, and he's worked out very well. The next big one that I was involved in, I mentioned earlier, was the KMP Trail, and that's how I really became so interested in this level of governance. And we've made major progress there. Like we talked this morning, yeah, we got some issues with finishing that last stretch up in North Frontenac, but we will get there with all the hard work Kelly and his staff does getting access to the land. The only thing on that, I would hope the next council budgets to do some work in the islands, because the intent was to have all 4 municipalities participate, and hopefully we can get at that Wolf Island Canal, which is really the only sensible connection, which does tie it into what the KMP Trail was back in the days of Sir John A. Macdonald when it was open. It was an integral part of it. There's many challenges going forth, and I know the new council will address and have lots of plans. And we haven't always agreed on everything, but I think this morning's discussion on how to use the seniors housing fund in North Frontenac is just one indication of how we can have our differences, but come to some resolution. So I don't want to take all morning, but I want to say thank you, everybody, and wish everybody success, staff, and future council. Thank you. Thank you. So now, I think.
Thank you for saying what you mentioned quite a few things that I was going to mention, knowing this was your last council meeting. There's some things you left out. Conferences, you're always probably the first or third person on a mic, so all the conference attendees are going to miss you. Ministers may not miss you for your questions, but we'll make sure that we try and follow up when we go to conferences and delegations to work as effectively and eloquently as you have in the past. Listen to you at delegations. You're very good at getting your point across and getting ministers and their staff attention. So just wanted to say thank you for that. I appreciate the efforts you've ever done. And hopefully in your retirement, you get to enjoy your family and you get to visit family members you haven't seen in a while. So thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, yeah, and I hope others do get to that mic at Able or Roma or Good Roads or wherever you get to a mic when there's ministers, I guess, because that's important. And do try to get on some of the committees, like there's AMO committees, like I've been on that waste management. I guess somebody from this region should try to get on that one going forward. But there's lots of other committees you can get on. I know that Community School Alliance, which is working hard for keeping the schools open in rural Ontario. It's important, but there's probably dozens of others, whatever your interest in. I encourage the new council to get involved, because that's the only way we can make changes across the province. Enough said there. Where are we, Madam Clerk? Down to the confirmation bylaw?
Yes, so we're at first and second reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Warden Higgins. Resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce bylaws B through F that have been circulated to all members of the county council, and that bylaws B through F be read a first and second time.
Any questions? All in favor? Carry. And the third reading?
Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Warden Higgins. Resolved that bylaws A through F be read a third time, signed, sealed, and finally passed.
All in favor? Carry. We already had adjournment?
Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Vanderwall, that the meeting hereby adjourn at 10:48 a.m.
All in favor?
Wednesday.